games. All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions out of the NFC North. Look out for the Lions, man. They are a dangerous football team. The Reggie Bush has got to be the best free agent pick. He's like this year's Darren Sproles from a few years back. Reggie Bush has just fit that team to a T. He opens up so many things, and as well as Calvin Johnson opens up things for Reggie Bush. Got to give a big shout out to Dominic Raiola, starting center for the Detroit Lions, former Badger. That's where I'm from Wisconsin. So yeah, Detroit, that offensive line is anchored by Raiola, and they are moving guys all over the field, doing great job zone blocking, because that's really what you have to do with Reggie Bush. It isn't a pull and block kind of offense like the Bears run. It's more of a just we're going to block guys, and we're going to move guys where they need to go. It's his own blocking scheme, and let Reggie Bush make plays. So they're doing a great job there. Stafford, one negative thing. I mean, Matt Stafford's playing okay. He's winning ball games. He's doing all right. Fantasy-wise, man, I'm starting to lose a lot of confidence in Matt Stafford. He's kind of a one-trick pony. He throws to Calvin Johnson all the time. Calvin Johnson is a total security blanket for that guy. So, if you're a fantasy owner of Matt Stafford, you might want to start thinking about a backup plan, because there's only so much production you're going to get out of a quarterback that throws to one guy primarily. They're still going to win some games, and Reggie Bush needs more targets. That's the other thing. Matt Stafford needs to realize he's got a 4-3 guy over there playing halfback that he can get the ball to anytime he wants, and that's going to open up all sorts of things downfield. Yeah, Nate Burleson broke his arm getting a pizza, but there's more open downfield is what I'm saying, and Matt Stafford needs to start hitting those targets. So, if I was a fantasy owner of Matt Stafford, just look for a backup right now. Brian Hoyer pops into mind. That's a great pickup. I'll talk about him later. Defense, let's see. Defense of the Detroit Lions. They better mature, and they better mature quick. You got a lot of talent on that defense. You got Stephen Tulloch from the Titans a few years ago. You haven't done shit with him. You got two stud defensive tackles in a 4-3. You got beast down low. Those D tackles are playing good. They need to play better. They need to anchor. What those two guys, Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley, remind me of, what their potential reminds me of. They don't remind me of shit right now, but what their potential reminds me of is Tony Siragusa and Sam Adams from the Baltimore Ravens circa 2000. Now, if you remember way back then, the talk was all Ray Lewis, this great defense. But the reason Ray Lewis was so goddamn good those years was because Siragusa and Adams didn't let anybody touch Ray Lewis. Nobody got to the second level. Nobody ever blocked Ray Lewis. Okay. So, fast forward, we got the same situation with Fairley and Sue. They need to stop worrying about making a gazillion plays, okay? In a 4-3, as defensive tackles, your job is not to make 10 tackles a game. Your job is to stuff those holes, pick up those blockers, play 3, play even a 5, play 2-gap. You got a 2-gap. You got to pick 2 blockers up. You got to grab blockers. That's your job. Because the linebackers behind you, they're going to make all the plays, and that's just how it's going to go, all right? And eventually they're going to stop running up the middle. You're going to spread that offensive out. They got to go. They're going to have to start going lateral, and that's when you start that's when you start shutting down running games. Got to make those guys go lateral. All right. That was a lot of talk right there, and all I'm really trying to say is Sue and Fairley got to stop playing for themselves and start playing for the team. Sue's got to stop worrying about how great the offensive line is going to game plan against him, like he did with Chris Long or whatever not Chris Long, but the Long brother that he was going up against with the Bears. It's like, you're going to go up against a lot of offensive linemen. Your job is not to make the offensive linemen look bad. Your job is to make sure your team wins and to make those linebackers look good. And Stephen Tulloch's a good linebacker. They grabbed him from the Titans a few years back. He hasn't done much. He has the potential blowing up Pro Bowl type player, And all he's got to do is have his 2 big boys up front take up those blockers and look out. All of a sudden, you're going to see the Lions be a top 5 defensive rushing team. A rush defense team. It's possible. It's very, very possible. Let's see. Oh, another sign. I was talking earlier how Detroit needs to mature. Big, big, big sign of their lack of maturity, lack of discipline. They blew a huge play. They gave one to Matt Forte. That long 60-plus yard run to Matt Forte was a high school play. You watch that, it was the old-fashioned reverse pivot, kick the ball out backwards to the running back heading out and then pull the backside guard. That is like single wing high school play. The reason it worked was because the defensive end on the weak side just flat out bit down as soon as he saw the quarterback reverse pivot. That's a play that is ran at simple levels of football that should never work in the NFL. That should never work against a defensive, disciplined defense. So, another sign, as long as the Detroit Lions simply mature, especially on the defensive line, you're not seeing a lot of these mistakes in the back end. Even at the linebacker level, if you're not seeing the mistakes, you're seeing these mistakes at the D-line because you got a bunch of guys just flying around. All they think about is making plays. That's not their goal at a 4-3. Don't make plays. Stuff those holes. Play 2-gap. Free up the linebackers. All right. Moving on past the Lions, I just want to say Lions are probably right now loaded up to be the best team in the division. They keep playing good ball. Outside of the problems they have on the defensive line, they keep playing good ball. Reggie Bush stays healthy. They could win the division right now. Chicago Bears.